Hey there, everyone. It's Bob Martin, the RCSubGuy with the NautilusDryDocks.com. It is Thursday, March 25th, 2021, 6:30 p.m. And we're going to talk subs. It has been a while. It's been like 3 weeks. I had to cancel last time because of a scheduling conflict, but I am anxious to get back to talking about this awesome hobby of remote-controlled submarines. 7 people within 30 seconds. That's awesome. Glad to see you. We're going to hang out for a few minutes. It's early. It's like 6:25, so we got 5 minutes before everybody else should theoretically be chiming in. On the docket, some news from the dry docks. I'll let you know what's going on with the business. Got a bunch of RTR ready to run submarines that I took in. I'll verbally go through those with you. Let you know what we've got coming. And I wanted to focus today a little bit on RC submarine electronics. There's a lot of different modules out there. And figuring out what they are, what they do, and when you use them is something that a lot of people kind of struggle with. So yeah, want to go ahead and dive into RC submarine electronics. As always, answering your questions. You can see, at least in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen, little chat box. If you have questions or comments, by all means, type them in there. Unlike usual, where I'm usually doing this from my shop on my phone, I'm at home, and I'll have this up so it's a lot easier for me to see your questions and comments as they come in real time. So, yeah, let's hang out for like 3 more minutes, and then we will get started in earnest. Today was a busy day for me. I don't know if all of you know or not, in the process of getting my instrument flight rating for flying. We bought an airplane, and I've been flying like 3 to 4 times a week for an hour and a half, 2 hours at a time. It's mentally exhausting. I find as the older I get, the harder it is to retain things. My poor brain is becoming more and more like a sieve, less and less like a steel trap, unfortunately. So yeah, that's super exciting. Probably the big thing is I'm getting close on the new sub drivers. I know a lot of you guys have been asking about it. We're still a few weeks out on those, but the new design is going to be really, really cool. It addresses a lot of the shortcomings of the previous iteration of the sub drivers. Primarily the one as it pertains to the sealing of the cylinder. Yeah, we're going to have a new sub driver out. The first one is going to be a 3-inch diameter with the option for 3 3/4-inch ballast tank. So it will have a 3-inch motor compartment, a 3-inch battery compartment, and either a 3-inch or 3 3/4-inch ballast tank. The reason I decided to focus on that is because that size of sub driver will probably accommodate like 80% of the kits out there on the market. So I've got some bad news for you guys who may have smaller boats, you know, those that would require like a 2 or 2.5-inch cylinder. It is going to be a while. Unfortunately, I just don't have the bandwidth to develop multiple products in parallel. But the 3-inch is going to be coming out. The ARC model kit takes that 3-inch. A lot of some of the bigger 96 scale boats, certainly 48 scale, and even up to, like 32nd scale boats will accept those sub drivers. So that is going to be good. It'll be good to get those out because I know, again, a lot of people have been asking about them. Bam! 6:30. Okay. What do we have going on? Wanted to let you know that I have a bajillion almost ready to go RC submarines that are going to be coming into the shop. I'll be doing probably tomorrow, if you watch my channel, a video on the ones I've currently got in the shop. Now, those, and I'm going to be going from memory here, include a 1/50th scale upholder with a brand new OTW dive module, a shear line at Kula, the shear line dive module. And if you followed my channel, there was a really cool Swedish submarine called the Sjoorman, S-J-O-O-R-M-A-N. Sjoorman submarine that came back to me. That is a very well-traveled submarine that is going to be available. Also got a 72nd scale Gato that is going to be coming up. And let's see what else I have in the shop at the moment. That's probably it for in the shop at the moment. But in July, we're going to have 19 more RC submarines hit the dry docks, and those are going to be coming up as well. If you subscribe to my site and you get my newsletters, the list of those were in that newsletter. Typically, for those of you who are looking to find out roughly what you're going to be paying, for the most part, and up, down from this point, a good rule of thumb, a complete, ready to go, tested, trimmed, painted, weathered, and ready to go RC submarine is probably going to set you back in the vicinity of $3,000, but it goes up, up, up from there. So if that is something that you are interested in, follow my site, subscribe to the newsletter. You'll see all of the updates that are going on. You'll see what's coming down the pipe. Builds that are going to be finishing up here. Got actually quite a few. We got a 96 scale USS Nautilus 571 Nautilus that is going to be finished up. A beautiful little boat. If I understand things correctly, it was a very limited production hull that a very few people ended up having access to. So that is going to be finished up. There is a 32nd parallel type 23, beautiful little boat converted to sub-driver power. That is going to be ready. Both of those, hopefully early next week. You should be seeing some videos on those. They are both in final assembly procedures right now, final trimming, and then they'll be heading out to the lake and get some video for you. Also, a really gorgeous Type 214 from Yanis, our friend Yanis in Greece. That was originally put together by Steve Neal in California for a customer out of Australia. Ended up all the way over there, and long story short, ended up back here. That ended up getting sold, and now it's going to find its way to the UK. So it's going to be a very, very, very well-traveled boat. 48 scale Type 214. Pretty cool. You're going to be seeing that in the very nearish future-ish as well. Another really cool one, and watch for this, a 1/32nd scale Gato. And for those of you not familiar with the actual, what that actually entails, that sucker is like 10 feet long. I believe it was originally manufactured or put together in the 1980s. And it's been sent to us for refurbishment. Now that will end up a long ways in the future because I've got a few builds queued up in the meantime before I get to that. But cool boat. Look for the video in the future. Anything that I got in the shop, I'll have that. It'll just be a quick overview so that you guys can see what I have got. All right, time to pause. Let's take a look at some comments here. Would the 96 scale Los Angeles take the 3-inch? Yes. 3-inch cylinder should fit nicely. If I remember correctly, the internal bulkheads were designed specifically for a 3-inch diameter watertight cylinder. So yeah, should work good. You look exhausted. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Makes me feel awesome. Let's see. Consider if you keep over North America is really going to be short of RC. Oh, if I die, we're going to lose some submarine stuff. Get some sleep. Okay, I will do. That sounds good. Thank you. Okay, yeah, 30-second Gato. You guys are talking about that thing. Oh, you know what? Hold on. I'm gonna see. No, I don't know if I can. I can't share out in this. That's not gonna work. Maybe it will. Let's go old school. I'm gonna see if I can pull up on my phone the picture of the Gato for the camera. Oh, look at that. That works good. Look at that sucker. Is it focusing? It was focused. What's going on here? Anyhow, that is sitting in my shop right now. Jason, my guy, my right-hand man, gutted it. Removed about 12 pounds of old RC guts from it. And we're talking like transistors and vacuum tubes here, people. Pretty awesome stuff. But that boat has like, what does it have? It's got lights, it's got sound, it's got swiveling guns, it's got operational periscopes, independent ballast systems, and torpedoes. So yeah, pretty cool. Let's see here. Is the Sequest coming? Yes, slowly but surely. I contracted out the casting for that. It's the same guys that do my little 77 scale Nautilus and my 48 scale Nautilus. They do good work, but they are not the most rapid people in the world. They've had my master patterns for 2 months, and he's just getting around to quoting me on remolding because I burned out the mold. So anyhow, long story short, Sequest is still coming. It will be coming. 007 Bond sub suspended indefinitely. Got so many projects lined up in front. You know, that Bond boat, people would really love that, I think, but primary focus right now is generic products such as the subdriver to help drive the hobby forward. You know, it's fine to put a Bond submarine out, but it doesn't help anything if you don't have anything to put in it. So that is the focus. Fitting kits for the Bronco Type 23. Are they going to be produced again? Maybe. Not a focus area again. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Fittings kits are not by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever required for converting those plastic model kits to RC. So hopefully you caught that. Not by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever do you need them to build your boat. They make it a little bit easier. All right, that's all it does. All the parts and pieces are there. You just need a little bit of ingenuity, and you can convert those over to RC operation with very little problem whatsoever. Come with a plastic prop. The plastic prop is perfectly fine. If you want a brass prop, I sell the brass prop. You know, we can put that in there for you too. With the plastic appendages, the dive planes, the rudders, they're all perfectly fine. I sell generic bulkheads for the mounting of the watertight cylinders. So, I mean, you can grab those. So, yeah, the short answer is yeah, probably. The long answer is not for a while because it's not anything that's going to drive this hobby forward. All right, that's what I need to focus on. The Millennial Falcon. That is so awesome. Did you do that on purpose? The Millennial Falcon? He's not a millennial. He's like a Gen Y-er. He's like 18 years old. It's the Millennium Falcon. We were working on it today. So for those of you who don't know, if you follow my channel, Logan, under my supervision, revamped, revitalized, refurbished a beautiful little boat that David Merriman put together that we termed, or he termed, the Bat Sub. So if you search for Bat Sub on my channel, you'll see that boat, and man, was that ever cool. It was a cool boat. It worked really, really well, and he did a great job putting it together. Next project is converting the, is it Ertl kit, plastic model kit of the Millennium Falcon, which I believe is 72nd scale, to full remote control as an RC submarine. So it's going to have vectored thrust. It's going to be able to do barrel rolls and loops and all of that stuff. Full LED lighting, brushless motors, and if we have our Carruthers, functional laser turrets. Functional laser turrets. That's how cool we're talking here. So just today we finished the engine pod. Both of the brushless motors with all the housings and the ducted vents for the back were completed. We're going to be doing some wet testing hopefully tomorrow. And from there, we're going to be working on some pitch control. And yeah, I should do a video for you guys. I really should. It's cool. It is very cool. All right. Caught up. Got a lot of people saying hello and good day to you guys. All right. Oh my gosh. I was promising to talk about RC submarine electronics, but I'm going to preface this by saying I am super excited. And again, I wish that I could share my screen out, but YouTube, I don't think allows that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I have, over the course of the last few months, been working diligently on creating a RC submarine beginner's guide for those of you who are just starting out in the hobby, because I know how complicated this must seem to you. Obviously, get a lot of people asking very rudimentary questions about the hobby, and there's really not a lot of resources out there that kind of group it all together and make it easy to get this information. So I put together, and I got to try to think how many. I've got it pulled up here. I don't know how many pages altogether this is. It is, I'm still finishing it up, 140 pages, fully illustrated, full color, beginner's guide to building and operating a remote controlled submarine. I'm hoping within the next 30 days, I'll have a digital copy, and I really do want to look at the option of putting forth physical hard copy publications for anybody who wants to have a hard copy, like a book that you can put on the bookshelf. So a lot of the information that I go over, like in these YouTube videos, are going to be contained in it. It is not by any stretch of the imagination, and please bear this in mind, it is not the absolute comprehensive be-all and end-all to anything and everything to do with RC submarines. This is a beginner's guide, an overview of RC submarines. It is an introduction to let you know how they're built, where to get them, how to put them together, how to trim them, what goes in them, how to run them, all of that fun stuff. High level information. So if any of you deign to say, oh, you should have included information about this, that, and the other thing, I will ban you for life, because I work really hard on this. And if I hear anything but compliments, you're banned. That's all I'm going to say about that. But anyhow, getting back to what I was talking about, someone had asked about the format. So it's going to be digital option, PDF. That'll be first released for anybody that wants to download it, print it yourself, or just keep it digitally. But I do want to make hard copy bound versions available for people. Kindle, I looked into publication through Amazon before. I'll see, maybe. I haven't gotten that far. If anybody has information or experience in publishing, I would love to hear from you, because I've never done it before and I'm stumbling around in the dark. Indie Helly's talking about the old Traplet book. So really, if I remember correctly, there's really only 2 RC submarine books that were ever come out. One was called Simply Submarines, and that was put out by Traplet Publications. So if you if you can find one. It wasn't a bad book. It kind of went into, it was like an assembly of articles about RC submarines, specific RC submarines. So you could take a look at that. And the other one was put out by Norbert Bruggen, and it was Model Submarine Technology, and beautiful book. It went into a lot of mathematics and physics as it related to remote controlled submarines. Somewhere around here in the other room, I got one of each of those, but they're out of publication, and they have been for years and years and years. Traplet Publications was the one that handled it for the longest time, but not put out. Just said Big Dave did one. I did not know that Big Dave did one. I know Steve Neal did RC Submarines for Dummies. Maybe thinking about that one. And that was digital only. And I believe you can get that for free on the subcommittee website. If you go to subcommittee.com, I don't know where it is in there, but I believe you can download the digital version of that one. And he is, by the way, the same Steve Neal that built that 214 that we are currently refurbishing and will be launching next week. So now I need to get back to where I was talking about before, because I promised an overview of remote controlled submarine electronics, which is, let's see here. I gotta find the right part of my book. We got torpedoes and radios and soldering, batteries, 3D printing. Here we go. Found it. And there's a lot of modules that are typically used in RC submarines. Let's kind of start from the beginning, and we'll go through. A lot of you may know about these already, but some of them may be new. Hopefully you get some gleaning of information that you don't know about before. Servos, obviously, everybody knows what a servo is, or assuming everybody knows what a servo is. An electronic speed controller is not going to go into that, and the motors and the receivers, fuses. I just did a video on battery eliminator circuits. For those of you unfamiliar with battery eliminator circuits, you see them in one of two iterations typically. One would be an integration into an electronic speed controller. So basically what happens is you hook up your speed controller to main battery power, and it's in conjunction with being powered by the main battery will also power your receiver through the servo cable. So it pushes out 5 volts through that servo cable to the receiver, and if you've got a common common power bus in your receiver, it'll power your servo. Now, typically with those, it's fairly low output. So like we're usually talking about 1.5 amps, which is not a lot. A full-size servo in full stall will pull like 3 amps. So you do not want to overload battery eliminator circuit because weird ass things will happen to your boat. The other option is a standalone BEC, battery eliminator circuit, and that basically gets wired into main battery power. It takes that battery power, be it 12 volts or 6 volts, and it drops it down to 5 volts, pushes out usually 3 amps to 4 amps worth of current to your peripheral equipment that's plugged into your receiver. If you got weird things going on with your watertight cylinder, it might not be a bad thing to try putting a BEC in there. They're the size of a postage stamp. They're super small, and it's a worthwhile investment to power your receiver. And for those of you who are too young or didn't get in the hobby early enough, it used to be that you would actually power your submarine from a standalone battery, a little 5-volt rectangular battery pack. So not only did you need to worry about your main drive battery being charged all the time, you need to make sure that your receiver battery pack stayed charged at all times. So that's your BEC. Pitch controller, automatic pitch controller. There's lots of variations out there. I just saw in the subcommittee report And everybody who's not a member of the subcommittee, I highly encourage it. Any members get access to the subcommittee report, which is a world-class publication of submarine information, not just remote-controlled submarine information, but if you're interested in the history of submarines, static modeling, submarine books, it's all in there. So it's super cool. Anyhow, last episode edition that just came out or will be coming out in the coming week or so. Talked about a new pitch controller that came out from Engel. Engel, I've heard that they are having a hard time fulfilling orders, that they're not responding to customers, but at any rate, this is a new information and new product, and it looks super cool. Lots of features. But let's back up here. What does an automatic pitch controller do? So ideally, you want your RC submarine to stay at a level keel. So if this is like the bow of your boat, you want it to descend and then descend on it and rise on an even keel. Without an automatic pitch controller, this is what's going to end up happening. It's called porpoising, and it's super embarrassing. You'll be driving your boat along, and everybody will be like oohing and ahhing, and then you'll see, oh, I got to get a little deeper, and you go deep there. Oh, too deep, and you compensate, and it comes up, and the bow breaches up out of the water, and it hops up out, and you're like, oh, too high, and you go down, and it goes like this. Called porpoising. Not super cool, not very realistic. I'm sure all the little sailors on board are vomiting all over the decks of your submarine. What the automatic pitch controller does is it takes away the human error of correcting that pitch. So in an ideal setup, depth of the boat is controlled by the forward dive planes or the fairwater planes up on the sail. And the pitch of the boat is controlled by the aft dive planes. So the forward planes pull the nose down, the aft planes level the boat out, and it keeps it at a really even keel, nice and steady and properly installed, properly trimmed. You can tool around at periscope depth with one hand all day. So highly recommended. It is not overly expensive. Automatic pitch controller. Lots of them out there. I carry two different variants, one from Tim in the UK, the other from Kevin McLeod out of Canada. And then again, there's Engel out there as well. That, by the way, that big Gato had an original Subtech APC-1. I think when they finished, they were up to like APC-3, but this was APC-1. It was like the size of a deck of cards. Huge. But hey, man, this was back in the day, so whatever. It's all cool. Fail-safe devices. These will typically monitor your receiver, your transmitter input to the receiver, and upon loss of signal, will execute a predetermined something activity. Most times, it will blow your ballast. So lost signal, the submarine's like, oh my gosh, nobody's talking to me. I don't know where I am or what I'm doing. Blow ballast, get me back up to the surface, and try and regain that transmission from the transmitter, so you can tell me what I need to be doing. It does not need to do that. You could have it hooked up to bow planes. You could have it hooked up to an emergency buoy. You could have it hooked up to a pinger. You could have it hooked up to anything. All it does is it listens for the signal, and upon loss of signal, it does something. Has a servo output, and it does something. Could be a relay, an electromagnet, a lighting circuit. It could be anything. Units that I carry, the BLM from Kevin McLeod out of Canada, not only monitors the transmission, the signal strength, but it also monitors your battery level. So if it drops below a predetermined level, it will blow ballast to get you back up to the top, and it won't let you dive again. I was reminded of that last time we brought out our, I don't remember what boat it was, but couldn't figure out why it wouldn't dive, and it was because we forgot to charge the battery. That's your fail-safe device. Go slow. For any of you that have rigged up retracting bow planes or servo-operated periscopes, you know how quickly servos can cycle. It's fairly fast. The go slow, and there's lots of variations out here. Kevin McLeod puts one out called the actual go slow. But there's one called servo rate controller. I think Turnigy puts one out. But basically what it does is this unit listens to the transmitter, and the transmitter says, okay, move to this position. And this unit's like, okay, I'll get there. Just to hold your pants on. And it cycles the servo nice and slowly. So instead of your bow planes shooting out and sucking back in, they'll retract and extend at a nice, stately pace. So if you're looking for some added realism, it's a go slow, just plugs right in the middle, super easy. Bow retract modules. Now this is important since we're talking about bow planes. When you've got your bow planes, obviously they extend, however they extend, and then they work, they actuate. The problem is if you have them like this and then try to retract them, you'll smash into the side of your boat, you'll bind up your linkages, you'll bust something. In a best case scenario, they'll be bound up and sucking tremendous amount of juice in stall configuration, so not anything good. The bow retract module, and again, lots of them out there, Engel sells them, I sell them. What it does is it basically locks out the retract capabilities until those bow planes are level, and then it will allow that retract function, locking out the tilting function until they're fully extended. So that's what you need to do. X-tail mixers, for those of you who have seen these boats out there, and that Surman that I talked about earlier is an X-tail boat. So most submarines out there, for the sake of ease, have a cruciform arrangement of rudders and dive planes, which is fine, cool. But what an X-tail does is it moves everything to the side. So if you wanted to move to the right or to the left, both of or all four of those control surfaces move. Mathematically and hydrodynamically and physically speaking, X-tail submarines have about 1.4 times, so 40% more effective turning force than a standard cruciform submarine. So you get some tremendous maneuverability out of that. If you've ever seen the little Engel 212 model, man, oh man, that thing will turn around in like 3 or 4 feet. It's awesome. So the X-tail mixer, instead of mechanically mixing these two shafts together, it does it electronically. So you have one servo for one angle, one servo for the other, and it'll electronically mix them depending if you're wanting to dive or you want to use them as rudders. All right. Okay, pause. Let's take a look at some comments here. Gone to ordered some stuff from Engel, phoned it in, nice. Please let me know if they actually get it to you. It'd be super interesting. Is there a way to run dual shafts off of one motor? Yes, absolutely. Called a gearbox. Probably. My new subdrivers are all going to be single motor variants, and anybody with a dual shaft will have the option of purchasing a gearbox. The idea behind it is the gearbox lives in the boat. The cylinder is fully removable. Now, what that does, it simplifies the design and setup of the watertight cylinder. It makes it easier for me to manufacture. It makes it cheaper for you to buy them. So yes, absolutely. That is how you want to do it. Now, the only other option, obviously, would be to remove the single motor and put 2 motors in there. Here's a little aside that I want to talk about. A lot of people say, oh, I want both of my shafts to be running independently off their own electronic speed controller so that I can control them independently. That'll be awesome. I can just spin the boat around in like circles like this. BS. Nope, doesn't work. Unless you've got a boat that has your shafts, your prop shafts, spaced a significant distance apart, they meet the turning moment created by differential thrust is going to be inadequate to move that boat at anything remotely useful. All right. I'm talking about, you know, like 571 Nautilus or a German Type 7 or Type 9 or a Gato. Those shafts are very, very close together. All right. Furthermore, they actually tend to be angled inwards. And so it makes it even less effective for that differential steering. Something more like an Oscar or like a Russian Typhoon, you're going to start to see some effectiveness out of that, but it's going to be marginal. And if you want to try and envision what I'm talking about, take a 2x4, the length of your submarine, okay? Let's say it's 6 feet long. Lay it on the ground, take your fingers, pinch the 2 corners, and try and spin that 2x4 around. It's going to be exceptionally difficult, right? Now, you know, a Gato or a Type 7, your fingers are going to be close together, but whereas, you know, an Oscar or a Typhoon, you can spread your fingers out a little bit further. So that's what we're talking about. This is pure physics, people. So if you've got these visions of doing a ballet with your remote-controlled submarine with differential throttles, please cull them from your thoughts, all right? And by the way, if you are looking to do that, one of the other modules that we have is a dual motor, for lack of a better terms, speed controller. It's a mixer, much like the VTail mixer, that allows you to mix 2 electronic speed controllers to independently control the shaft. So if you do have a widely spaced prop shaft boat, or you're building like an ROV or, you know, a little recovery boat, that's another module that you can look at. What did you think of the picture of the Type 7 that I was working on? I'm lost. I'm sorry, Lawrence. I don't know what you're talking about. Send me an email or a picture. I blame it on my old age and lack of memory. Sorry. Okay, Throttle Jockey, yeah, that's what it's called, Rick, thank you. Throttle Jockey from KMC Designs at the nautilusdrydocs.com. Switches, power switches, remote switches. Couple different ways of going about it if you want to turn your boat on and off. Number 1, just connect the battery, stuff it in the tube, put the end cap on, drop the tube in the boat, seal the boat up, and away you go. Basically foolproof. Highly likely anything's going to go wrong because it's all, you know, physical connections in there. It means it's a little bit of extra time pond side and a little less time driving your boat to turn it on and turn it off. Physical switch, a few different ways of doing that. You can have, like most electronic speed controllers will have a remote switch on a pair of wires that you can mount, you know, away from the electronic speed controller. What I've done in the past, what a lot of people will do is they'll mount that inside the watertight cylinder, put a shaft to that switch and run it out of a watertight seal. And then you can turn the boat on and off by moving the little shaft in and out. Works. You've got a hole in your boat and you gotta make sure that that stays sealed, but it works perfectly fine. You can also do a waterproof toggle switch. I don't like those as much. Basically, you've got it like a toggle switch, you know, like that flicks up and down. And there's a rubber boot that goes over. I tried to say that not like a Canadian boot. I don't know how Americans say boot. There's a rubber boot that goes over the outside of it and it makes it watertight. And if that gets nicked, cut, or otherwise, you know, punctured, that water can get into the switch, flow it through the switch into the watertight cylinder. Best case scenario, the switch just rusts up and doesn't work anymore. Worst case, you flooded your watertight cylinder. Second last option are remote switches. Now you've got magnetic switches. such as the MM10 unit put out by KMC Designs. Engel of Germany also has a magnetic switch variant. Basically, it is a relay triggered by a magnet. So you've got a power switch, an electronic power switch that sits inside the watertight cylinder. So there's no punctures for your watertight cylinder. And you swipe a magnet in proximity to it to turn the model on, swipe the other way to turn the model off. The MM10 depends on the kind of strength of magnet that you have in terms of the range. Ideally, you want it to be able to get all the way through the hull so you don't have to crack the hull open to turn the model on and off. But I find with the MM10, you need to have a pretty powerful magnet in order to do that. The other option, and I've had great success with these, and we've got lots of options out there, is a wireless remote on-off switch. So basically, it just goes in series with your main power. Got a little key fob. It's really cool, just like unlocking your car. Bloop, bloop. And it's really cool if you rig in lights. So you hit the button and lights come on and the sub turns on. So yeah, there you go. That's another option as well. So your power switches. Sound modules. I've done sound in the past. Very tough to implement on small boats. Reason being is you need to have a speaker, a waterproof speaker, and the speaker needs to be mounted above the surface waterline of the boat. Modern nuclear submarines have zero freeboard in which to mount a waterproof speaker, unless you're talking a big boat like maybe Ed's 48 scale skipjack or something like that. But it's hard to find room. Now, if you're talking like a World War II era boat that has a lot of freeboard, becomes more feasible, but not in the smaller scales. You'll end up with a little piezoelectric speaker, and it's going to sound like super tinny and like kind of nasty. And the big trick is if we pretend this is the speaker, right? You've got the cup right here. If you mount it like you want to mount it, like this, where it takes up the least amount of vertical space, when it comes up, it collects water on the top, and it kind of mutes it. So you have to mount it at an angle, and now all of a sudden you're taking up more vertical room. So doable. What I'm saying is it's doable, but the implementation is tricky. But if you can do it, and I've done it, I've got 2 Type 7 builds that I've done with sound modules. You can get diesel sound that fires up when you power up the model, and it aligns with the throttle, so diesel engines speed up with more throttle and slow down with less throttle. Sonar pings, machine guns, dive klaxons, anything that you can think of. It's pretty cool. So if you're okay with the room it takes in the cylinder, poking holes in the end caps to run the power, and finding a place to put the speaker, yeah, go for it. Pretty cool stuff. Engel makes a great unit, but there's a lot of other ones out there as well. Depth controller. So the idea behind a depth controller, if we refer back to what I was talking about with the pitch controller is different than depth controller. Pitch, everybody guess, controls pitch, and your depth controller controls your depth. Pitch is handled by your aft planes. Depth is handled from your front planes. In most cases, there's exceptions. You can rig them in together so that you can, go like this and all sorts of stuff like that. But the idea behind it, at least with Kevin's module, the DC depth controller module, is it has a port that is ported to the outside of the boat, so it's open to water pressure. You dive the boat using your front planes. The unit turns itself off. As soon as you take your finger off the bow planes, the depth controller wakes up, records the pressure coming into that port, and it will adjust the bow planes in such a manner that it will attempt to keep the boat at that pressure level. So realistically, it'll stay within a few inches of depth. hands-off operation. Now we're not just talking about periscope depth, but you could be a foot under the surface of the water, one-handed operation, and it will attempt to keep a level operation, within a window, a narrow window of operation while submerged. So very cool stuff. Take a look for that kind of information and ordering information and pricing information on my website at nautilusdrybox.com. Okay, what have I missed here? Remotes. Do you think those watertight boxes from eBay are any good? Oh, Dan. I have no idea which specifically watertight boxes on eBay you would be referring to. So I'm going to assume there's probably 1.5 million of them out there. If you send me a link, though, maybe I'll make a video or something. If you are up for it, search my channel for MSS dive system for controlling larger watertight, larger remote-controlled submarines. Those watertight boxes are rated to something in the vicinity of 80 feet of depth. I've used them successfully in about 3 boats so far, but that MSS video goes into detail specifically about them. Highly recommend them. I call like it S1000 and S2000. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I apologize. But I've got a whole bunch of them in stock waiting for implementation. I love them. I tout the benefits of that watertight box on that video. I think they're going to work really, really well. So if you got a big boat in particular, and you've got the room for a rectangular watertight enclosure, watertight box could absolutely be the way to go. Will the watertight cylinder for the Revell Type 7 be available again soon? No. As I mentioned earlier, my focus is on the 3-inch watertight cylinders because that's going to encompass about 85% of the RC submarine market. Unfortunately, those small boats are going to get relegated to the back of my priority queue, which I know sucks, and I wish I could put out a 2-inch and a 2.5-inch and a 3-inch and a 3.5-inch and a 4.5-inch watertight cylinder. But like one guy, and it ain't gonna happen anytime soon. But that 3-inch will handle a lot. And honestly, the Revell Type 7, you know, those kits are what, 120, 130 bucks? I'm guessing. You can find them, they're kind of hard to find too. If you step up just like 100 or 200 bucks, you get into the Arc Model Type 7. So that's 48 scale, it's like 58 inches long. You can put that 3-inch watertight cylinder in it. You get like triple the boat for, you know, 100 bucks more or 150 bucks more. Absolutely worth it. That Type 7 kit is created from the outset as a remote controlled model. You know, the Revell Type 7 is a static display model. It's plastic. It's flimsy. It can heat up in the sun and warp. Don't get me wrong, it can build into a beautiful boat, and I have built many, but those were not designed for RC, you know, practical, functional RC submarine use. This is an expensive hobby. Don't skimp, you know, on 100 or 200 bucks. Get twice or 3 times the boat for, you know, $100 more. It will make your life so much easier, and trust me, your fingers and eyeballs and back will thank you, because the amount of angst that you'll go in trying to use tweezers to put your components in a little 2-inch diameter watertight cylinder is a painful process. You know, you jump up to 3-inch, there's room for everything. You can use your fingers. You got room for extra components. You know, there's my advice. So short answer, no. Long answer, no, but there you go. Old school dry hull. Would you recommend cutting it out, replacing it with a cylinder, or go old school? 100% depends on how well the original implementation of that dry hull was, and what condition it's in now. I've gone into this before. There's trade-offs for wet hull and dry hull boats. Dry hull, you got a lot more room inside. It's a little easier to work, but the boats are much heavier to transport, launch, and retrieve than a wet hulled boat. Also, you can't simply remove the electronics package, put it on your bench. You know, you got to have the whole boat sitting out and working on it. And probably the biggest thing is the access to that watertight compartment is typically via a flat lid held on by about 678,258 nuts. So you go about torquing it all down, and then you remember, oh shoot, I forgot to hook up the XYZ module, and then you get to undo them all again, hook it up, and then redo all of the bolts. And again, just think about it. You know, the more surface area you're trying to seal, the more potential areas you have for leaks. So I am not saying that you cannot have a beautifully operating dry hull boat, and I have built them. Angle Typhoon comes to mind, beautiful boat. But I would say from a maintenance perspective, they're a little bit higher and a lot heavier. Like bear in mind all of that buoyancy that you're locking inside that big dry area needs to be offset by ballast, which means you got to lift it, you've got to carry it, you've got to transport it, you've got to drop it in the lake, you've got to pick it up out of the lake. Yeah, so if it's in good shape, absolutely. And by the way, that big 30-second Gato that I mentioned earlier, I'm going dry hull with that because it's already set up, it's already been trimmed. I'm simply going to refurbish the dry compartment and put new modern components inside. It's a big boat. It seems to make more sense than putting a big watertight cylinder in there. There you go, Ed. Hey, you called about T1000, 2500, and T3500 watertight boxes. There you go. There goes my 70-second Gato. Yeah, well, I mean, there's other people making cylinders for them. RCSub Workshop out of Japan, if they're still doing it, makes a beautiful watertight cylinder. I believe it is a water pump based rubber bladder system with twin brushless motors. Do it. You are not going to hurt my feelings. I assure you. Naze controlled. Yep, you're above my pay grade. Don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what Naze is. Sorry. You didn't tell me you had a 30-second. It's not for sale. You can't have it. It's a customer's boat brought in for refurbishment. I'll be working on it beginning in the fall after I clear out my build queue. Build queue, by the way, includes, so I talked about the Nautilus. I talked about the Type 23. There's the 214. There is an OTW Oberon, brand new build that is going to be happening. And a really cool one, I don't know if Steve Reichmuth is on or not, but it's a French Arathus submarine. He's got master patterns that I need to finish out, mold, cast, put together as an RC submarine. Crazy bow planes on those. Look it up. ARETHUSE. The bow planes don't actuate, they push out. One's tilted up, one's tilted down. So it like is weird. Those French are just weird. All right, now I think I'm caught up. I talked about all of those RC submarine electronics. That's like most of them. I'm sure I'm forgetting about some, but that's most of them. That's the big ones that we've been talking about. I'll circle back here just real quick. I'm going to scroll through and let you know the topics that are in my book that's going to be coming out, just so you know the kinds of things that I'm going to be covering. Dave Merriman penned a really cool little homage to some of the original people in the hobby, a lot of whom I had never heard of before. I need to flesh it out because there's some that I want to add in there. I got a frequently asked questions section. How do you get started? What kind of questions should you ask yourself, and where should you start in your journey? I go into some of the common modern submarine terminology, common model submarine terminology, so you know what it is we're talking about. Model submarine dive technology, all the different kinds of ballast systems that you can implement. And again, this is not how to build them. That book would be like 8,000 pages long. This is the generic overview on how they're put together. Tools of the trade, things that I recommend people have in your garage, shop, or in some cases kitchen to put your model submarine together. Materials to build your boat out of. Glues and adhesives, what you're putting it together with. Bushings, seals, lubrication, the electronics that we already talked about. And then I got a big section in here about 3D printing. It's always a common topic that people ask me about, so I go into the basics, the fundamentals of 3D printing in there as well. I also go into the electrical basics. If you're building an RC submarine, you really need to have basic electrical theory knowledge, but I do have it in here. Different battery technologies and how you go about charging them properly, safely. How to waterproof your batteries. How to solder. That's a big thing. Oh my God, you have no idea the nastiness that we saw in this last boat that we were refurbishing. Yeah, not cool. RC submarine radios. Basic radio fundamentals, but also typical setup, how I set up my boats, what channels, what sticks, the functions on each of them, etc., etc. Torpedoes, torpedo launchers, both electric and gas-powered. And Dan, I saw you on there. If you're cool with it, I got your name plastered all over there. I went into a little bit about your super duper capacitor torpedoes. So yeah, super cool. Video, operational periscopes, how to waterproof your servos, different types of RC submarine propulsion, LED lighting, fail-safe systems, painting your boat. That's a big chapter there. How to paint your boat, not just the basics, but weathering, how to get a nice realistic sheen on there. How to pick your boat. Which one do you want? Do you build it? Do you buy it? And scratch building your hull. I go deep into the lost foam technique of building your own RC submarine hull out of foam and fiberglass. Setting up your hull joints, doing the connections, setting up your linkages, all the different linkage connections, basics of molding and casting parts. This is a long book. It's taking a long time just to go through all this. How to trim your submarine, start to finish, and then operating your boat. The best way to operate it, the best way to take it out initially. There's a checklist, things you want to bring, and general RC submarine performance characteristics. That's an interesting section. Yeah, take a look at that. I got a checklist that you can download as well. Salvage operations for when, not if, you lose your boat. The effects of the environment on your boat long term. And then there's going to be like a follow-up or an afterword. Is that the opposite of a forward? Oh, it's been a long journey, and I'm learning a lot about publishing, so it's pretty cool stuff. Michael wanted to know book dash when question mark. Soon, 30 days. I'll be finishing it up, hopefully sooner. Digital version first, and hopefully, I just answered the damn question. 30 days. for the digital version, and then hopefully hard copy versions will be available for purchase afterwards. So yeah, I'm excited. All right, 5 minutes left. I've done an awful lot of talking about the things that I want to talk about, answered a few questions. Any other questions before I let you go? Costs? Dude, like, I haven't even finished writing the book yet. It could be another 100 pages, and I'm charging $1 a page. So save your shekels. It'll be worth it. Oh, damn. GRP hulls. So yeah, you asked about if you like the current market demand for GRP hulls. I've probably got like $30,000 in GRP hull molds. What people want are cheap hulls, 3D printed hulls and plastic hulls. There is a small demographic of people who, and these are the hardcore builders that elect to go with the quality kits, the museum scale kits, with all of the details and durability, you know, of the GRP. But the demand is absolutely plastic, and you're in a rough spot, man, because that 48th boat, while it is beautiful, is competing against that Chinese plastic kit at $300. It's hard to compete. You know what you need to do is pick a you know, a boat that nobody's making any models of, right? So yeah, there you go. MSD 2.5 now dead. Yes, Rick, dead. Dead for now. It may be reinvigorated, no, reincarnated, but not for the foreseeable future. Talked about this before. Anybody that wants to come down and help me in the shop and get things tooled up, we can start knocking out fitting kits and 2.5-inch cylinders, but so far nobody's taken me up on that offer. We're going to see if we can make some stuff happen. Doing the best I can. 3-inch cylinders is what's going to come out first. You mentioned in a previous video about being in contact with some companies to try and get megahertz radios made, but would any be willing to make transmitter modules that could be used on new radios? No. None that we've come across. So an update on that, actually, I've been in touch with the manufacturer overseas in Europe that is going to be putting out an 8-channel 75 and 40 megahertz radio system, transmitter and receiver, with, I believe, initially, was it 4 or 6 different frequency options, with the option later down the road for, I believe, another 4. Finishing things up, it's going to be summer-ish before I get one in my hand. But the good news is they, in theory, are coming, which means that we are going to continue, in theory, to have access to low-frequency radios for pure, full submerging operation of our RC submarines. But again, I want to temper that, and I can hear the poo-poos coming from all the way over the internet already. I am a huge proponent of 2.4 gigahertz radios. All of the last builds that I've done have been 2.4, and they are a blast to operate. So much fun. It's just like so much less stressful and easy, and way more features, and I don't know. I'm not going to be able to convince you people that aren't going to believe me. So fine, take your 75 megahertz radios. I'll sell those too. How many channels? On the new radios, 8. 8 channels. 8 for you French Canadians out there, which is enough for everything that you need to do and more. All right. It is now 7:29 p.m. Last chance for questions, and I'm going to pack it in. Last chance. Yeah, look for that video tomorrow. That's gonna be pretty awesome. I'll show you the boats that I got in the shop. It's gonna be super quick, and you know, some of those boats that you're gonna see are obviously gonna be available for sale. But if you decide to purchase them, they are not going to be built until late in the year at best. But still super cool. All right, a few little comments going here and there, but it looks like I cleaned you guys out. I taught you everything there is to know about RC submarines, so you don't need to know anything more, which is great because now you have no excuses not to buy remote control submarines. All right, with that, I am going to sign off. I'm gonna let you guys go, get back to your evening. A little plug for the Nautilus Dry Docks Dive Tribe. If you are not a member, we got probably 20 people that come regularly. Be you an RC submarine expert or an RC submarine newbie, it is for all of you. We share information, we share our builds, we share our challenges, we share our successes, and basically we just talk submarines for, you know, an hour, 2 hours, or sometimes 3 hours at a time. Dive Tribe membership gets you access to those. It takes place every 2 weeks on Saturday at 3 p.m. And when you become a member, you get access to all the archived video chats, which is super awesome as well. So you can hit up my website up at the very top, join the Dive Tribe. It is worth it. All right, that's it. Shameless self-promotion over with. Everybody have an awesome night. Appreciate all of you stopping by to say hello. We'll catch you next time. It's Bob Martin, RC Sub Guy with the NautilusDryDocks.com. Catch you next time.